Hey, welcome to Manalizing, where men talk about what men don't talk about. I'm Garth Haslam. In this interview, I'm talking to Boo Andersen. He is a good man. He's the best of men. He's a beast of a physical being. The man used to play linebacker for the U of U, and I think he could probably still play that position if they'd let him on the field. I see him in the gym a lot, and the man has muscle. So I asked him if he'd be willing to come on, and he graciously agreed. Now I'm not small, but this man scares me. He is, despite that, he's one of the kindest men that I've ever met. He is also one of the best fathers, one of the most spiritual men I've ever met, and he's definitely one of the most physically gifted men I've ever met. He's also man enough to be able to come on and get vulnerable with us so that you and I can see his life and his demons and his darkness and how he has dealt with that. It's a great interview. Here we go. Garth Haslam. You're Boo Andersen.
Yes, sir.
And tell me a little bit about how we met.
When I first moved in the area, you were in my ward, in Lakeside Ward. We had 1,000 people attending that ward. And then you and I had never really talked. I thought you were a mute.
Yeah.
And I saw you at the pool one time with my son, and you know that story.
Yeah, but everybody else needs to hear it.
Okay. I didn't know if you didn't like that story. I was at the pool, the hot springs, just down the road. And it was packed. It was as packed as I'd ever seen it. And you were there walking around the shallow end, and I was trying to train my son to swim. And he's crying, and I'm yelling at him. And so he tries to swim, and he gulps a bunch of water down. And I grab him, pull him up, and he starts burping and about to throw up, and he burped maybe within 2 inches of your face. And I thought you had started dry heaving. I didn't know, but me and you didn't say a word. I should have said, I think I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you heard me.
I remember that. I remember the burp. You'd told me this story earlier, and I was like, I don't remember that. But I remember the burp. I thought, wow, that was awesome. No, I've dealt with kids. But what you said, you thought I was a mute. That one, I want to go there. Because I'm going to start off being the vulnerable one, apparently. But I've always been the guy, I love microphones, by the way. I had a good friend of mine said, hey, you're the stage manager. And she was being very complimentary. She thought she was. That was supposed to be a compliment, because as the stage manager, I'm the one that sends everybody else out onto the stage. Go left, go right, do whatever. It's your turn. You go stand on the star. Standing on the star being a Jay Leno reference that proves I'm old. But I hated that. I was like, I don't want to be the stage manager. I want to be on the star at some point. And even it's the irony is, even with Manalizing, is I bring guys like you in and make them the star, and I still don't put myself on the star, other than when I run off on rants like this. Then I guess if I'm going to be ranting for a long period of time, then yeah, apparently I'm on the star there. Then I read a book, or listened to a book, that changed my viewpoint on all of it. And I forget the guy's name, but he basically said, hey, good leaders create results. Great leaders create leaders. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm okay being a stage manager. Yeah, I am easily put in a place where I don't talk. But give me the opportunity, and we will. And I think that's not just me.
Were you like that as a kid in groups? Were you super chatty, or?
Oh, no, I was
Were you shy?
I was the ultimate nerd. I wasn't shy. I was forced
Chess
into
club
a
nerd,
corner.
that's right.
Yeah, exactly. Chess club nerd.
I was playing chess before I came here doing cardio, so I play every day on my phone.
Yeah, Boo, if you can see it in the video there, you are the Incredible Hulk.
You are.
If I was to name an Incredible Hulk, you come immediately to mind.
Well, I'm trying to get in shape like you. And Garth, how long have you been working out now?
Oh, I would say it's been a couple of years.
But you didn't in like high school or college time?
No.
So really for the first time ever a few years ago.
Right.
Not first time ever, but consistently trying to work out.
Yeah, and it's been weird because I would take a pre-workout and then not work out. I did that for probably 10 years.
Just for energy, or
Yeah, just for energy. I
well,
think it upsized me.
if you see Garth at the gym, he's a monster. He's pretty jacked everywhere. You really are. And that's pretty amazing. How old are you?
I'm 65.
So being 65, the testosterone that drops off for most men, you've obviously,
Yeah.
yours hasn't dropped off too much. You've built a lot of muscle quick.
I have testosterone pills in my butt, but it's one of those things where I don't want to go out with a whimper. And apparently I do build muscle fast, which is a surprise considering that I'm the chess nerd.
Were you born that way, or do you think you were conditioned that way?
No, it was, I have to admit, I'm the first one. When there's a lot of voices in the room, I will yield. And I'm not quite sure why that is, but yeah, junior high was rough for me. I learned to avoid. Matter of fact, being vulnerable again, I wasn't comfortable around men. I wasn't comfortable around men until 8, 10 years ago-ish. Men were scary, men are dangerous. And I'd learned in junior high to hang around women because they wouldn't hit you.
They wouldn't hit you?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so all the bullies knew that they could pick me and that I'd be an easy target. So yeah, I learned to avoid males. And
What about at home? Were you in good relationship with your dad?
not at all. No. So my dad's only role, he did two things. And one was earn money and then stay the heck away. Unless my mom was needing an executioner, and then he'd come in with a belt or a whip or something and nail you to the wall until he decided that you were appropriately punished.
So you'd get hit with the belt when your mom needed help.
Yeah. When she said that I'd been bad or somebody had been bad, then he was there.
So he'd hit you with a belt like what, 1, 2, 3 times?
Until he felt like I learned to start screaming loudly immediately. I tried to tough it out, and then he just hit me more. So I finally learned that if I acted like I was being killed, then I would get hit less.
So you were getting bullied at school, what, like weekly?
Oh, daily.
Daily? What's bullying look like? Punching you? Shoving you in the locker or what?
Mostly it's demeaning.
Verbal?
Yeah.
Making
Mostly.
fun of you? Teasing you?
Yeah. I was the skinny kid. It's interesting. We might have to do a second podcast because I can tell we're not going to dip into you like we need.
Oh, we will.
But no, I was definitely the skinny kid. And I've been having conversations about this with AI recently too. But my dad was a clerk. My mom stayed at home. He never got promoted in his entire 30 years at Geneva Steel because he was a bit of a nerd as well. So there wasn't a lot of money, and I'd ask for money to do whatever, and there just wasn't any. So I got money for lunch, 40 cents a day. And what I would do is I would spend 4 cents on a milk, and I would drink that, and I would have 36 cents in my pocket. And that gave me some money to do stuff with. And it also resulted in me being very skinny. Underdeveloped, etc. So yeah, I was the easy kid to pick on. And that's not anything that any kid wants.
So I'm curious, going through that as a kid and maybe not having a great relationship with your dad, were you scared of him?
I learned to avoid him. I had no use for him. There was a point where he tried to start taking me to BYU football games. I know you're a Ute football man. You're a
I like
linebacker.
BYU too. I like them both.
Yeah. And he tried, but all we could talk about was how to get to the game and how to get home. Which street should we take? That was the only conversation he could get out.
So how'd you learn how to talk to people and come out of your shell?
My first answer is that I haven't.
You're trying at least, doing the podcast.
Well,
You talk at the gym.
Yeah, I do. As long as, if it takes us, if you've got a strong personality in the room, Julie, my wife, or Burdette, or somebody who will take all the air, they get it. I'll sneak something in now and then, but it doesn't take much for me to yield. And the reason why I'm more than happy to go down this road is I think that there's going to be a perception as I do these podcasts that I'm trying to portray myself as the man among men. And now that I've got a large body, I definitely don't want to portray that I'm the first man among all men, because I've got my stuff too. I got plenty of it. But it's a guy like you even would have so intimidated me, I wouldn't have spoken to you. As a matter of fact, that's probably why you considered me the mute, is because back in the day, that was back when men were scary.
Even what, 5, 8 years ago when you moved in? You know what, though? My perception of you wasn't that you were shy. My perception was, this is a bigger guy. My perception of you was, not to be rude, but I thought you were maybe a jerk. And it's my wife. She's really pretty and she's not super outgoing. And it's not because she's a brat or rude. She's just shy. But you look at her and she's beautiful. So it's, oh, this beautiful girl, she's got to be a total brat, for lack of better words. When I first met her, I was like, man, she's got to be a total BI. And she wasn't. She's the greatest person ever, but you perceive her as one way, but it's the opposite. It's like you're a big guy and you don't see yourself as a big guy. People are going to perceive you as not very friendly. Hey, the exact same person that you fear.
There's an.
And it's the same with me though. Because I was shy growing up. I was always holding on my mom's arm as a kid. I didn't like talking in big groups. If I'd go to school and I would just be so worried my teacher would call on me because I didn't want to have to answer anything in front of the whole class. I always felt stupid. I'd freeze up. So I get it to a certain extent, but I was never bullied or anything like you. So I'm curious on how that happened, but super sad that's going on.
Yeah, and bullying happens regularly. I don't want to make myself a massive victim because there's a million bullies and a million people that are being bullied, and I think everybody takes their own turn at it. For me, it was a regular thing.
Yeah. You know what I think of when you tell your story? There is a study, and during this study, I can't remember who they were, these wildlife biologists, I think. They were doing a study on zebras. And so they would go and mark the zebras with a big X on them. And I can't remember if it was orange or red. I think it was a red X. And so that way they can come back the next day and know where that zebra was. If not, if you didn't know, you would have no idea what zebra is what, because they all blend in together. But the thing is, every time they'd come back, the zebra would be gone. They're like, what the heck is going on? Why can't we find these zebras? So they eventually found out that the lions were coming and eating the zebras with a red X on them. And you know why?
Because they stood out.
Because they stood out. The lions hunt the weak, the young, and they have to target one individual zebra for them to be successful in the hunt. And they could do that when there's a red X on it, right? But otherwise, they all blend in, and that's like that's how they stay safe, is by blending in together. And it's the same thing with us as humans. It's like a defense mechanism. If you just want to blend in and fly under the radar, you want to look like everyone else and appear to be like everyone else, like a zebra. And that's why people don't want to be who they feel like they really are. They have been conditioned to blend in.
Be who they feel like they really are. Let's talk about you. What challenges have you run into? Be who you feel like you really are. When has it been hard and when has it been easier?
To be myself.
To be who you are. Yeah. Let's start with when it was hard.
I think it was harder when I thought I didn't care what anyone thought. I never really have cared too much, but everyone does to a certain extent. But when you think you're being who you are, example, word of wisdom, I used to think the word of wisdom confined me and put me in a box and told me what I can't do in life.
So word of wisdom is an LDS thing.
Yep, Church of Jesus Christ. It's kind of what we do to, it's really an eternal law to
Drugs.
progress. Yep.
Yeah, basically the idea is it's the early version, the 1800s version of, hey, let's eat healthy and be healthy and not screw up our bodies so that we can be strong spiritually, mentally, physically, etc.
Yep, that's exactly right. And when I was maybe high school time, I thought the word of wisdom told me what I can't do, and it confined me to this box. I was like, man, I want to live a free life. And I was a pretty good rule follower as a young kid, but I eventually wasn't. And college, high school, didn't live the word of wisdom. And I thought I was being who I was, not exactly right by the rules and by the book. But I eventually found out, man, when you live a party life or maybe have some vices, even me, I still have vices, got this energy drink, the Rebel. But it confines you and puts a ball and chain around your foot. Satan wants you to think you're being freed from whatever it is, but really he's making you feel one way, but he's putting a ball and chain around your foot when you're not looking. And next thing you know, like me, at one point I was addicted to chewing tobacco. And that was really hard to quit. And I couldn't do even as something as that small. It was hard because I knew I wanted to kick the habit. It's hard to try and focus on maybe serving other people or helping other people when I had a chew in my mouth. So the point I'm trying to make is it's been the best when I've been able to be my true authentic self is when I yoke myself to the Lord and become as a little child, like who you were sent into this world to be, become more like who I know I am.
Who you know you are. Man, I think that might be the theme for this. When I go, like I say, I want to go all the way around your authentic self, being who you really are. So you were in college and you chose that the real Boo was going to, among whatever else, he was going to pick up chewing tobacco.
Yeah, you weren't going to tell me what I couldn't do.
And because you're claiming your manhood, you're claiming your identity. You're like, hey, I get to choose for me. Why didn't that work?
It didn't work because the Lord had different plans for me. I feel like the Lord wants me to be free from bondage so I can help other people.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, the irony that I see is that when you start taking your own life over, or you think you are, not relying on the Lord, but rejecting and saying, hey, me first, you second, that's when you go into bondage. And that gets into the idea of what is manhood. Manhood would then be something other than, hey, I'm going to make all of my own decisions because I am the ultimate ruler of my universe. There has to be a little bit of humility in there. And like a child in a family, the father, who probably knows better than the 5-year-old, is going to give the 5-year-old rules, not because he wants to box the 5-year-old in, but because he wants the 5-year-old to not get run over in the street, to not cut themselves with knives, to not burn his hand on the stove, to not fall off the ladder, and those sorts of things. So there's a father. It takes a certain amount of humility to recognize that there is a father, someone who knows more than you do, in spite of the fact that you think that you're as smart as any human on the planet. We all deal with that. So at what point did that change for you? At what point did you realize, hey, I've made a few of my own decisions and some of them are good and some of them aren't, didn't turn out well for me? At what point did you begin to choose humility?
When the Lord humbled me. So when I was in kindergarten, we had a day where our teacher asked us what we want to be when we grow up, and everyone in class got to say what they wanted to be. And I said, I'm going to be an NFL football player. And when I said that, I just knew it was true, and I knew it was going to happen. What little kid at that age knows that they have the physical talent to be able to go compete at that level. But I just knew it was true. My dad had played professional sports. He was in the NFL for a little short stint. He went to BYU, by the way, so that's why I grew up a BYU fan. So high school happens, have a pretty good high school career, go to college, and I probably could have gone just about anywhere. And for multiple reasons, I stayed here and went to University of Utah. And like I said, when I got there, I wasn't doing anything that anybody else wasn't. It wasn't doing anything crazy, but we'd go out and party and have a few drinks and have fun with all our friends. Everyone was doing it. But for some reason, I felt like, why can this guy do it and go and do amazing? And for some reason, I'm just not quite there. I wasn't quite yet making the big plays. It took me, I played my freshman year on special teams. Sophomore year, got in a few games, was an alternate linebacker. Junior year, I worked into the starting rotation, and then I tore my ACL in the middle of the season. So I came back for my senior year, and I just wasn't quite healthy in the same yet, and I didn't have a good senior year. It was horrible. And so the NFL didn't work out, and I was devastated. At that point, I was married to a girl senior year of college, and she and I got a divorce. I had 2 kids with her, and right as I got a divorce, football was ending. I moved back into my parents' house. I have no job or career. My whole identity was just football, and it was like a nightmare. I still have bad dreams about it, going to college and not quite being able to make a play. And it's like, I wake up and, oh, wow, that's almost like what happened. And so I lived my own nightmare because I was not in a position to just do the little things right on and off the field. And I had all the talent in the world, but the Lord wasn't going to let me ruin my spiritual self for football. And so where that changed is I hit rock bottom, was living at my parents', divorced, and I never wanted to get married again. I just wanted to be a good dad, but I didn't know what to do career-wise. I was just like, oh, geez, what do I do? So anyway, I prayed that if I was supposed to ever find someone, that the Lord would lead me to somebody, and I got set up on a blind date. I met my wife, Maddie, and slowly started to change, but I still had some bad habits like chewing tobacco when we met, and we got married pretty quick, maybe within a year of dating. And I still wasn't quite myself, but I had to figure out, it's like, I'm married and I've got 2 other kids I've got to provide for, and now my wife, and then my wife, Maddie, got pregnant, and we had our first baby, Presley. Her middle name's Boo, by the way. She's born on Halloween.
Nice.
So Presley's born on Halloween, Boo everything. So Presley Boo was born, and for some reason, it just kind of, I guess not for some reason, my wife said, look, we need to give her a baby blessing. I said, cool. Do you want to do it, or I said, do you want your dad to do it, or do you want mine? Because both of our families her family's always been active. Mine is pretty active at the time. And I said, I want you to do it. The problem was I didn't have the priesthood. We stopped going to church. Because we were so sports oriented, became inactive when I was maybe 10 or 11. For no reason other than we're just traveling for baseball every weekend. But so where it really changed, I got baptized at 8, and I was just such a straight-laced kid. So I wanted to be just like Jesus. Even in kindergarten, we had morning and afternoon kindergarten. You can pick which one. And my mom asked. I said, I'll do morning because I know Jesus would wake up early in the morning and go to school. Right? Everything I did was based on him. And that changed slowly but surely for no reason other than I didn't have that spiritual foundation anymore. And so never got the priesthood. Now Presley's born. My wife says, I want you to do it. I was no longer partying or maybe drinking at bars or anything, but I still was chewing tobacco. I was like, I better figure out what's true because I don't know what's true and what's not. I always felt like God was there, but I just didn't know. So that was my journey where I decided I needed to figure out what's the truth. Right. And so I started reading scripture, going to church, and just doing all the basics, praying every day. And it didn't happen overnight. It was a lot of hard work, but little miracles started happening. And my wife, her dad, my father-in-law, got me into the business I'm in now, financial planning, and started working with him. And since then, it's just been career-wise, it's been great. Spiritually, it's been great. And as a father, it's been great. So I was able to give Presley a blessing after a year. My wife waited for her to get older. She didn't care. She just wanted me to be able to do it.
You to do it.
We got sealed and married, and my life is totally different now because I chose to humble myself and not do things my way anymore.
Yeah. And I'm starting to realize there wasn't a single moment of choice for you or for anybody else. It's a series of choices of, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to make better choices. I'm going to be a better human, a better man, a better father, a better husband. I want to go back. One of my favorite questions is, what is your darkest moment? And I'm going to guess that you just told me that when football was done, you didn't achieve your dreams. You had a fresh new divorce on your hands. You've got to pay for a couple of kids. You can't even pay for yourself. You're living in your parents' home.
No hope, no confidence. And where I found my confidence, I think is where I was going with this, where I found my confidence was rooting myself in Jesus Christ. I couldn't find confidence anywhere other than when I read scriptures.
At least you had that. Thank goodness you had that.
Yep.
Because otherwise, if I put myself in that place, I'd be like, okay, I have lost at every game that I've ever played in. I lost at football. I lost at marriage. I've got kids, but I don't have a wife and I don't have a home. I'm a loser.
Yeah.
In every aspect, I'm a loser. That's what I would do to me. I don't know if you did that to yourself or not.
I did.
And that had to have made you hard to live around as well, of course.
Yeah. Yep. I was pretty short-tempered for a while.
Yeah. How did your parents deal with that?
Just love me.
You had a couple of very awesome, trump cards. One is that your parents loved you. The other is that you had a relationship with Christ, even though you were down. You were way down.
Yeah, and I did have a relationship with him, but that was before I even was coming back to church or anything. I just wanted to find hope somewhere.
I've heard people tell me that they feel like, I don't need church. I don't need any organized religion. I have a relationship with Christ, and that's enough. How do you feel about that?
When I was playing football, there's a certain recipe for success. You have to hit the weight room. You have to do speed training, work out. You have to watch a lot of film. You have to do good in the classroom. And you got to live a good life on and off the field. So there's all these different factors to be successful. And when I played football, it was somewhat easier to do because you had to be there at 6 a.m. to work out. You had to go to class because they were checking. You had to do all these different things because someone was there holding you accountable, right? You're on scholarship and you're not going to quit, or you're not going to not do these things because you want to play. So when you have that formula, it's a lot easier to be successful in a sense. So once I graduated and stopped playing football, no one was keeping me accountable to work out and do those things. So long story short, you have a family. I get married to my wife, Madison, and I'm working and providing and not going to the gym, and got fat. So when you don't have that accountability, it's easy to lose sights on what your goals really are and be disciplined enough to be able to do it. What was your question again?
So I'm so wrapped up in your response. I'm thinking,
Because that was the response, and now I forgot what I was responding
so
to.
we're responding to why is it good enough to just have a relationship?
Exactly. So just like I had a formula to be successful in football, if there was no formula, how do you know what to do? God, Heavenly Father, and Jesus Christ have the perfect formula. Heavenly Father does impossible numbers. Jesus Christ does impossible numbers. Look at how perfect the earth is away from the sun and all the planets and gravity and everything. It's just perfect. And he has a formula in the Church of Jesus Christ where he gives you an outlay of what you should or shouldn't do, but he didn't tell you every little thing to do.
Right.
He gives you some warnings on what you shouldn't be doing, word of wisdom stuff. He has the temple for covenants and things to help you stay aligned to return to Heavenly Father one day. And those are all the same principles to help you be successful in life. Business, dad, any of that stuff, it all kind of centers around, for me, those same principles. So I don't know. I think you can still be successful in trying to do it yourself and not go to church, but it's so hard. It's like, why would I want to go try and be a pro baseball player and not have the best coach ever? I would go get a personal hitting coach, a pitching coach, and if I want the best, and he's going to show me how to make it. And I would rather have that formula, especially when you have kids. How am I going to raise them without having come follow me at home or a home-centered gospel and a living prophet, just like Moses, literally? We have a Moses living right now that can help guide us. But the great part is, and I almost wish they would just tell us what to do, but they don't. You have to receive your own revelation, but they have some guidelines to help. But it's not easy. But even at that, it's hard. I would rather have even more structure.
Yeah. And I think that's because the Lord, being a parent, recognizes there's being a parent for a 5-year-old, and then there's being a parent for a, let's say, 18-year-old or a 25-year-old. You got to give them more rope. You got to let them fail. And this is one place where my parents actually, my mom, my dad really wasn't involved in my upbringing. But this is one place where my mom failed, is she basically told me, as long as you make the decision that I would make, I'll let you make your decisions. And it resulted very poorly because I married the absolute worst woman because it was the first decision I'd ever made. I didn't know what the consequences of choosing wrong were until I married the wrong woman. So basically what I'm getting to is you've got to be able to fail a little or a lot so that you have the understanding of, I want to succeed. You have the understanding that if you choose wrong, things go badly. And I think that's probably, to me, in my mind, that's why the Lord does it the way he does for us. Because we're adults and we get to make our decisions, we get to fail, and we get to understand and grow that way. What I've learned in these podcasts is that in many cases, a man's darkest moment is often his greatest blessing. And let's go there now. You had that dark moment. You just graduated. Now you're the non-football player. Was that your darkest moment, or was there something darker?
My first wife, we have 2 kids together, really close together. And she's from a little town in southern Utah. And we have split custody of the kids, but that's where she went back to. So they live 5 hours away. Part of the darkest moment was them being so far and not being able to see them every single day.
Oh, yeah. 5 hours away. She must be in like Moab or something.
Yep, exactly right, down that area.
Yeah. And yeah, you talk to a lot of parents that, and you hear them say, I can't imagine my life without my children. And then you have a life without your children.
Yeah. As Robin Williams said, being without your kids is like telling me I can't breathe air. Like, it's just impossible to do.
Oh, that was in Doubtfire, wasn't
That's
it?
exactly right. That's exactly right.
That may be the first movie quote that I ever got.
But that one hit home, and it's been really hard. But because of those struggles I had and the failure I've had, there's 2 types of trials that I've found. Self-inflicted, it's your own fault. You're out partying or whatever, you're not going to feel good the next day. It's your own fault. It's a self-inflicted trial. But then you have trials that just happen. Maybe you get sick when you're trying to be healthy or whatever it might be. And I know somebody that has struggled with depression their whole life, and they never drank. They always lived the word of wisdom, saved themselves for marriage and the temple. Just the best person I could think of, but they're sad a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I looked at that person when I was in college. I was like, man, if I try and start living the word, or after college, and when I try and start living the word of wisdom and doing all these things right, when I have a trial and things don't just go perfect, I will crumble, because pretty much everything I felt like up to that point was my own fault. It was something stupid I did. The Lord didn't need to give me any trials. I did a good job doing it myself because of the mistakes I'd made. And it's so much easier to know just my kids being away and not seeing them a ton. And I see them often, but I want to be with them every second. But it's so much easier when you're living your life and striving. I'm never going to be perfect. There's all these areas I still need to work on, but I'm striving in all these areas. You find so much relief because you know you're trying. And I'm not doing those things that I know I shouldn't be doing. And you don't have that same regret. And it's, look, I'll do the best I can. I can't force my ex to let me see the kids more. I can't do anything about it. I'll do the best I can and leave the rest up to the Lord. And it's relief. You don't have to do it.
I feel like that has much to do with, I really miss my kids, but I am the best me that I know how to be. I'm authentic with myself and with everybody else. I know who I am. And that's not perfection, but it's as good as I can do today.
And you can find peace in that.
Yeah.
And comfort and relief.
Yeah. So your darkest moment, actually, it wasn't football. It was the divorce and your kids are gone and you can't breathe.
Part of it, yeah. All happened at the same time.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I guess it was.
Just some of it's ongoing, yeah.
Okay, yes. It is all, the worst of it, it was all the same moment. That's rugged. Okay, here's the world's stupidest question, which always gets the coolest results. Why was that a blessing for you?
So the Lord, it's the refiner's fire. When you refine silver, I was just listening to this morning, the refiner, the silversmith or whatever you want to call him, he sits there in front of the fire and he has to sit there the whole time and watch it, because if he leaves it in the fire too long, it will damage the silver. So he has to pull it out at the right time,
right,
to get the impurities out. And it's the same thing. The Lord left me in the fire just long enough to where I didn't crumble. And I feel like I'm strong enough, and everyone has different levels of stress that they can handle. And I like to think mine's high, but probably not compared to a lot. But the Lord takes care of you when you need it. I can't make rent this month. What am I going to do? And all of a sudden you get a check for no reason. It's like, He'll take care of you when the time comes and pull you through as time progresses. And it's my biggest blessing, because I found my wife that I'm married to now, Madison. Because of her, I have more kids, and I love all my kids. It doesn't mean I don't miss my others, but it's like when I had Presley, my first daughter, she was a missionary when she was a baby because she helped me receive the priesthood and our family be sealed. And she's the greatest missionary ever. I remember closing my eyes one night and asking Heavenly Father if He loved me. And I saw Presley in my mind, just thought of the picture of her praying for me before she was born. And I felt the words coming to my mind, isn't this proof that I love you? And Presley really healed a lot of those wounds for me. It's like somebody dying. No one can bring that person back, and you're always going to miss them, but you learn to live with it. And Presley taught me how to learn to live with it. Even as a baby, she didn't have to say anything. She loved me. Presley was a daddy's girl. She never wanted to leave my side. She would go with me to 5-7 hours of church meetings on Sunday and just sit the whole time. She didn't care. She wanted to be with me. is she wouldn't let her mom dress her when she was a little baby. And most little girls just, their mom does everything. She even had a
Right.
song she would sing where she wanted me to get her dressed for the day. And so it's like she just loved me more than anything. And that healed a lot of wounds that I had felt. And so Presley really helped me progress in every way, spiritually, physically, everything. And part of that is my wife too, Maddie. She brought Presley in, and then our son, Bo, and my oldest daughter, Armani, and my son, Brace. They've all pushed me to become a better man. But a part of that is without my wife, I wouldn't have the career I'm in. I wouldn't have a business and financial planning. We wouldn't be in the house we're in. I don't think I would have ever pushed myself in all these areas if she didn't support me. And she didn't nag me, but I knew I had to do it. So I couldn't let my situation destroy me and my family now. You have to learn to live with it and do the best you can. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, a little bit. I wish I had the right question for follow on for that. That response is its own Everest. I can't get any higher than that. It's one of those things where I put a certain amount of pressure on myself to listen very carefully and then ask the question that comes next. And that question has to be perfect. It has to prove that I listened. It's got to be the next insightful perfection. And I got nothing. But I think I can't improve on that. So I'm going to let that peak stand on its
Well,
own.
have you talked about your deepest, darkest moment yet?
I have done that in another podcast. I did that with Howard Snow. He's a very cool guy. He said the Dalai Lama. You are a natural interviewer. My darkest moment, if you're going to bring it up, that would be related to my divorce too.
How long were you married?
18 years.
Phew. That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
How old were you when you went through the divorce?
I would have been about 40. 41.
Were you living here?
Utah County. And yeah, I went from a big house, 4,000 square feet, and lots of noise. You come home from work and there's lots of kid noise. There's lots of mess.
You had kids?
I had 3 girls.
3 girls.
To a 1-bedroom basement apartment and no noise. And I turned on the TV to try and create some noise, but it was empty noise. I tried the radio and it was still empty noise. It wasn't kid noise. It wasn't family.
How old were your kids during that time?
They would have been 13, 11, and 9.
Are those still the only 3 kids you have? Or do you have?
That I have. When I married Julie, we added 2 more.
How old were you when you got married to Julie?
Not very long after that. But yeah, my favorite part of the day at that time was when the people upstairs would eat dinner, because I could hear chair noise and I could hear distant talking. But I loved listening to their chairs rustle as they were moving the chairs in to sit down and eat. That was life. That was humanity. That was family. And I had none of it at the time.
Were you seeing your girls often?
No, my ex-wife was playing keep away because she knew it would hurt me. So that's what she did. It was tough.
How, after the dust settled and the divorce was final and all that, did you get a lot of time with them?
It still was hard because she managed to get my oldest to not like me. So
How old was your oldest again?
13.
13.
Yeah. So
That's a tough time already.
I didn't really have a lot of time with her. Yeah, she's a teenager. It's hard
Yeah.
enough already. I didn't really have a lot of time with her until after she got married, and she got married pretty early. She got married at 19. But I have my theories as to why that happened, but that's
Till after she gets married, your relationship improved?
dramatically.
Are you close with her now?
Yeah.
All your girls, are you?
Yeah, now it's another one of my daughters that's playing keep away. But we're working on that one too. We just went on a cruise together. That was a big deal. Yesterday was Mother's Day. I sent her a happy Mother's Day text, and She appreciated it out loud. But yeah, that's tough. But I guess my question for you is, how did your hard moments make you a better dad?
As I told my wife one time when our back was against the wall financially, I'm really good under pressure. And having pressure applied, you can learn how to operate while you're under pressure. And so having those hard times makes a lot of the other day-to-day things not very hard because I've been through hard. And what stresses out what I feel like a lot of people is cakewalk. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
You say you've been through hard. When you say you've been through hard, are you referring to football directly, or you're referring to?
Yeah, all of it. Night football, college, and we were putting in 12-hour days constantly. And it was tough. It was a lot of hard work. And then even dealing with trials and stuff, that's hard in a different way.
Uh-huh.
So being able to deal with that when things are good, they're real good.
You are capable of dealing with hard because I'm trying to figure out the words.
But there's an opposite in everything. How can you know joy if you don't know pain? And how can you know what the sun is without cloudy days? Because I've felt what I feel like is a lot of pain, the joy is so much better. And being able just to relax and not put so much pressure on yourself because you know what pressure is, a relief.
Yeah, you've got some perspective, partly because of football.
Yeah, it's like I know what it's like to be broke. And now that I'm not so broke, what a relief and joy. Whereas I wouldn't even appreciate it if I just had money my whole life.
If you had a billionaire dad that started you with $10 million.
Yeah, and everyone has different thresholds of what they've been through and their pain and their pressure.
I've dealt with hard. We all deal with some kind of hard.
Everyone's dealt with hard.
Right.
One way or the other. It's hard to them.
And you can only guess because you've never met that guy and you don't know his inner thoughts, and nobody else knows anybody else's inner thoughts.
First off, I've never gone through anything like that, so I couldn't tell you how to overcome anything like that. And there's kids in Africa starving. There's people looking for their next meal, rape victims. There's so many things, child abuse. So I couldn't imagine how on earth would you overcome that? I don't know. But thinking of my kids and how real that was to me and not being able to see them every day, it's like you learn to live with it and progress anyway, because if not, it's going to ruin you. And you let that ruin, should I let that ruin my family now because of what happened? How do you progress towards something like that? I heard something that trauma's good to a certain extent, like the refiner's fire again. You don't want to leave it in too long, take it out at the right time, and the Lord will never put you through something that you can't overcome. Even the prophet Russell Nelson said something along the lines that joy and happiness has nothing to do with the circumstances of your life, but it's how you live your life and how you, I guess, respond to those moments. I'm reading a book right now. It's really good. It talks about the principles of success and the outcome. What's the outcome? The definition of being crazy is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. So if you want a different outcome, let's say this guy that had that traumatic experience and can't leave the house, it's horrible. If you want to be able to leave the house and take care of your wife and kids and do things, you got to do something different. So there's an event and something happens like adversity or a trial or traumatic experience is the event. You can't control the event. You can't control what happens to you if it's not a self-inflicted trial. So the event plus the response equals the outcome. It's a math equation. Event, adversity, plus how you respond to that adversity equals an outcome. So if you crumble that's your response, and the outcome is going to be not great. So you can't control the event. You can only control one of them. So you have to learn how to control the response to whatever happens. I had this lesson with my daughter last night. She's a dancer, and she's super, super flexible. And I said, Presley, part of being a great dancer is being able to be flexible, right? Said, yeah. I said, it's the same thing with your brain and your spirit. You have to be flexible to unexpected things, adversity. And she doesn't understand what adversity is, but adversity.
She will.
When you have a when you have a trial, how do you respond? Are you flexible to those things? Because you can change how you respond to things. She had a dance competition and she did well, but she cried after because she messed up on a few spots. She's a really elite dancer. She's 8, by the way.
Right.
So crazy, but she's all in. And so I told her, look, if you want a different outcome and not to mess up, you have to change how you prepare for these events. So you got to change your response on how you respond to this if you want to have a different outcome. And so we can control our life. Heavenly Father sent Jesus down to create the earth and everything in it, the 6 creative periods. And after every creative period, the Lord would go back to Heavenly Father and say, it's done. Heavenly Father would say that all is well. That's good. It's good. And then he would say, now go do this. And every time he'd come and report back. And it's the same thing with our life. Heavenly Father sent us here to become like him. How can we become like him unless we do those things like Christ has done? And we do that every day by creating our day. We're creators. And so I like thinking, I pray to Heavenly Father, what would thou have me do today? Who can I help? And what can I do? And you go back and report back and tell him how it went and have him hold you accountable. And you can create anything you want. It doesn't matter your circumstance. It doesn't matter what anyone's ever done to you. It doesn't matter who's not helping you. It does not matter because that doesn't change the outcome. You can't change anyone else. You can only change yourself and how you respond to things. And if you learn how to respond good, you can create any life you want, just like this house you live in. It's amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't suck. It's like I told you earlier, it's what happens when you let your wife make the decisions about what the house is going to look like. We're creators. I've had this discussion with Jeff Beck.
You're an engineer. You know all about creating.
I know how to
In
calculate.
math, yeah. So is the Lord.
And I think that's it. When I run into somebody, it doesn't matter if it's family or somebody at the gym or whatever, I'll ask them what's new in their life. And the answer, their eyes always go down. They always go, oh, nothing's new. And that's the way we all live. But it can't be. Nobody wants to live that life where they got up and went to work and did the commute and then did the commute home and ate dinner and TV and go to bed, rinse and repeat. Nobody wants to live that life. We all are and should be and need and want to be creators. And so it's fun when I run into somebody who can actually tell me what they created recently when I talk to them. You never get that out of a hi, how are you? It takes an additional dig. Yeah. Yeah. But we all want to be creators. We don't want to be the drone that loses our life just so that our family could eat.
Yeah. You know what? Depression. I read a book called The Optimistic Child, and depression literally comes when you're hopeless, where you're not progressing. We're supposed to progress from the day we're born forever. Even in the next life, we're progressing.
Right.
Even Heavenly Father is still progressing, which seems blasphemous, right? But we're all progressing always. If not, you wouldn't have joy. Progression is what brings you joy and hope.
Each day is a gift. That's actually why I do analyzing is I'll go out and be the structural engineer and earn money and come home with it in the bank
You're
account.
progressing because you're going out of what you naturally like doing, and you're progressing. You're going against the natural man.
Right. Yeah, it's what I do is awesome. It's fabulous. I make way more money than I should in way too little time. And it's a great lifestyle. I can't imagine another lifestyle that I would rather have. But it's still just earning money. Manalizing is how I create. Doing podcasts like this, giving guys a chance to get to know you. Guys maybe who were the chess nerd who never got to play football and never got to see what that lifestyle looks like. Guys who maybe are stuck in a routine where, and I'm talking about myself a billion years ago, where they've just accepted that you get up in the morning, you go through the routines, you come home, and there's a paycheck at the end of some period of time, and then you make your house payment, and then you rinse and repeat. There's more than that. I guess the point is that it doesn't feel like enough, and it can't be enough. We need to find out who we are and be that man. So I appreciate your time. Now let's give you a chance to plug your business. If somebody wants to invest with you, what do they do?
Just text me, look me up on the internet. Help people retire really is my specialty.
Yeah. What's your website, or how do they text you?
Yeah, we have a website. It's Diversify, Diversify.com.
And that's your
I'm part of a bigger wealth management firm, but I'm self-employed there.
Okay, so
I own my book with a big firm.
But Diversify is your URL?
That's the companies that I'm a part of.
So then they've got to go to diversify.com and then find you.
Sure. Yep.
And you're Boo Andersen.
That's it.
That's a hard first name to forget.
Yeah. BOO.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I need to give you a last word. Here you've got, let's say there's somewhere between 10 and a million guys who are listening to this podcast. They're going, hey, this is a cool guy. He's the football player. He's got the body. He's got the life. He's got the beautiful wife. He's got the house. I need to learn whatever I can from him. What would you tell him?
It's a good question. I would tell him that your life is not for you. It's not just for you to progress. Your career is not just for you to make money and have fun. Your marriage isn't just about you. Nothing's just about you. It's about others. And anything I do in my life, I feel like has the one purpose, and that's to gather Israel at some point, teach people about Christ in everything, which is weird. But my business and helping people plan and becoming financially free in return helps me be financially free so I can serve the Lord. And so I can provide for my family, which is a priesthood responsibility.
Right.
Provide for my family. It allows me to be a better husband. Being a better husband allows me to be a better father. Being a better father helps me gather Israel because I'm teaching my kids about the gospel and teaching them how to teach others. Doing family home evening is gathering Israel because I'm teaching my kids about the gospel. So anything, I think the world's stuck on me. And how do I be better? Who gives a crap about how you can be better? The only reason I want to be better is to help other people be better. It's not just, and selfishly, obviously, it's nice to be free and have some cash in the bank and be able to do things so you're not so stressed out. But I really feel like the purpose of pretty much anything I do is to some way or another help somebody else. It's not just about us. You'll naturally be helped. It's like the Lord said, the fowls of the air, the Lord feeds them, and they don't know tomorrow where they're going to get any food, but the Lord helps them and it figures it out. So if the Lord feeds the fowls of the air and clothes the grass, how much more is he going to take care of you? The Lord will take care of you. You just figure out how you can go help somebody else. It's not about you. It's about who in your life can you help. And the Lord wants to get you to a position where you can do that, whether it's financially free, free from addiction, a good husband and having a good marriage. You're not so stressed out about your marriage and all those things, because life's going to happen. Does that make sense?
Sure does. Thank you very much. I think that's the best sales pitch I could imagine, because
Okay.
it's one of those things. My sales pitch, when people call me about structural, last thing I'm going to do is tell them how awesome of a structural engineer I am. I'm going to make it about them. I'm going to talk to them about their issues, and it results, for lack of a better term, a close pretty much every time.
The thing is, too, with you, it's like going and getting a close and business and new money. That's great. But how much greater is it to be able to truly bless somebody and then be like, wow, thank you. Like, we needed you so bad. Thanks for coming. That's great.
Yeah,
The
it feels
money's
good.
The money's great.
I imagine you and I are both in that same place where, yeah, you serve a client well and they needed the help, and there's gratitude. And yeah, you feel good about yourself when you help somebody, and life just, it's beautiful that way.
I've never felt happier or better than when I even do something small and help somebody else. It's like I was at 7-Eleven last week and I saw a guy sitting in line with 2 beers and 2 Bud Lights and some candy. And I saw him put an extra $1 donut back because I could tell he couldn't afford it. He didn't have any teeth, looked homeless. So I was like, put it up there, buddy. And he put his stuff up there and I bought it for him. And he was so appreciative because I was like, get something else if you want something else. He said, no. You can tell he wasn't a freeloader, but that makes you feel so good. Just the little things.
But go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Garth.